Hey folks, Pat here from DNS, and this Madison area fishing report is current as of Friday, February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Before we get started, I do want to stress that this report is for current conditions as of today's date. Many factors can cause ice conditions to vary, so please be careful no matter where you fish. For up-to-date ice conditions, please feel free to call the shop at 608-241-4225, and we can tell you what we're hearing around town. Or if you run into some sketchy ice yourself, give us a call and let us know, or post in the comments below. Well, it's pretty chilly and it's been actually kind of slow here at the shop this morning, so hopefully we can breeze through this here. Just a couple announcements. Did want to congratulate Matt Thayer and Aaron Berg for their win at the Kicker Cup Winter Cup. So this is like the championship of the qualifiers from last year. So these guys were competing against some of the best anglers really in the Midwest. They get a lot of folks that come in from a long ways away to compete in these panfish tournaments, and yeah, they had a great bag. I think what was it, 8.19 pounds for a 10 fish mixed bag. So great job, guys. Looks like the next event is, I believe, next Sunday on Lake Redstone. So that's the next qualifier, and you can sign up there by going to the Kicker Cup. Find them on Facebook there and sign up. Jake just does a great job organizing these events, very professional, and yeah, you can try yourself against the best of the best out there. As far as other stuff goes, we're still the Yahara Fishing Club raffle is closed, but we still have the Muskie Capital City chapter of Muskies Inc. raffle going on here. So pick up your tickets here. They're giving away a huge package of some really awesome lures. Comes in a fancy box. So yeah, a couple prizes here. Stop in and do that. Speaking of Muskies, I did want to thank Shelby or congratulate Shelby Lee on this beautiful muskie caught off on Lake Wabisa. You've probably seen this going around social media a little bit. I know a lot of people are talking about it, and yeah, congrats to her on just a fantastic fish there. I guess speaking of game fish, I wanted to remind folks that I couldn't really find a good link online, of course. But yeah, I wanted to remind folks March 2nd, Northern Pike and Walleye close, and bass. If you're keeping bass, it closes. Bass it is catch and release open year round. But I think that's 16 days from now. So clock's ticking as far as game fish season closes. Get out there and get it while you can. And I don't want to become like some kind of lost and found for the neighborhood, but somebody dropped these rods off, found them on Monona Bay. This was, I think, like 2 weeks ago or maybe more. So if they look familiar, swing in the shop. We got them. I'll post a thing on like Madison Chain Fishing Club, and we can hopefully get these back to the rightful owner. A little bit of shop news. Still got these Vexilar lithium batteries. These are a great price, $59.99. I think they retail usually for $75. Creepers. There is some snow on top of the ice, which is going to help with traction, but you still do want to be safe out there. So come in and pick up creepers, safety stuff, J-rope, spud bars. Maybe you don't need a spud bar with like almost 20 inches ice out there now, but it is a good idea to at least have the floating ice picks on. And wanted to remind folks that it's going to be cold again this next week. Great time to tie flies. Or if you're not tying flies, maybe hair jigs. We got walleye season right around the corner. People be on the rivers. So get out there and or stop in here and then hunker down and tie some stuff up. Just a couple posters on the front door. Wisconsin Muskie Expo, the March 14th and 16th. That's the one in Wausau. We got the Muskie School. That's in Waunakee, March 22nd. That's at Waunakee High School, and that's hosted by the Capital City chapter of Muskies Inc. That's where they do their raffle drawing, where we're selling tickets. There's a blood draw going on up the street, and I put this up. The Villa Tap here in the neighborhood, great local bar, fantastic food. They do a thing on Fat Tuesday where John, the cook there, does a great, awesome job with some jambalaya. They got shrimp po' boys and key lime pie, which is also fantastic. So if you're not doing anything March 4th, get over there and have lunch or dinner. They do an awesome job. And you can call your order ahead too. And then Drinking with Scissors is going to be doing another one. That's got to be this coming week, right? Yeah. So yeah, this I think it's Wednesday or the 19th, whatever that is. Okay, so let's do the report. I guess weather-wise, it was chilly here this last week here in Madison. I'm sure we added to the already plentiful ice we have in the area. We've had a few inches of snow come down Wednesday night, and it looks like more snow tonight and a little bit more through tomorrow. But temps for the weekend look nice, and another cold snap coming in as we go into next week. But the extended forecast beyond that looks great. Looks like it's going to start warming up, and we'll get some good temperatures. And, with game fish closing on the 2nd, a lot of people feel we might as well get rid of that ice and start looking forward to open water there. So So like I said, plenty of ice out there, generally speaking, outside of a few sketchy areas I'll cover as we go through the report. Ice thicknesses across the chain are starting at about 12 inches, but I've heard about ice as thick as 18 inches in some spots, so conditions are generally safe for ATV travel, but with this new snow cover, sketchy areas could be covered up, so do be careful near current areas, heaves, and expansion cracks. As far as fishing goes, generally speaking around the chain, if it's shallow water panfish you're after, if you can find weeds, you'll likely find bluegills and maybe a crappie mixed in with the usual spikes, waxies, and plastics, working well for those fish. A few perch are being picked up over deep water on Mendota, but size has been a bit of an issue. Lots of 8 to 9 inch fish with a few over 10 mixed in. Lake Monona has been very quiet for perch, but Wabisa and Kiganza, while they can be a little hard to find, it sounds like you can track them down, and their mood is mixed. I hear mixed reports, but spikes and crappie minnows or rosy wet reds have been working well for those fish. Folks fishing shallow water tip-ups with shiners have been seeing good action for bass and lots of smaller pike all over the chain. Walleyes have also been showing up in some of those shallow areas, usually ones near shoreline breaks, usually at low light hours. Otherwise, anglers are out on mid-lake humps and deeper shoreline breaks looking for walleyes, and reports I've heard have been mixed. But most action, again, coming around low light periods. Either way, if it's walleye you're after, medium shiners, small suckers, and blacktail chubs are good choices for those fish. We'll get into a little more detail up here. Cherokee has been hit or miss as somebody who has fished up there a lot, probably too much in the last few weeks. I will tell you that, if you can find weeds, which there are plenty of out there, you'll find fish. And there's lots of fish up there, lots of lookers, very few takers. I've thrown pretty much everything I can think of at them, and it's pretty much the same thing, like maybe 1 in 20 fish that comes through a bite, and a lot of them are small. But there are some nice ones up there still, and the tip-up action's been great still. So lots of 18 to 24-inch pike with a few larger ones running around in there, and some nice largemouth bass with medium to large shiners working well for those fish. Otherwise, down on Lake Mendota itself, let's talk about the ice first. So as far as heaves go, there's a nasty heave still from Governor's Island that goes to Maple Bluff. It actually skirts the shoreline here, and then actually comes pretty close to Maple Bluff Beach down here and out past Dangle Bay, and kind of peters out as you get down near Tenney. But that's been troublesome. I know it was hard to get across there from Maple Bluff Beach this weekend, and folks still having trouble crossing up here, so do be careful around that heave. The heave sort of continues right on the other side of Governor's Island, and it heads west here, but it does peter out as you get over towards North Bay here. There is another heave that comes from the state park and heads over towards Farwell Point. That goes all the way across and is difficult to cross, as I understand. It looked pretty nasty from what I saw this weekend. But you can access the main lake from Governor's Island if you skirt out here. You can get between two heaves and then get out to the main lake that way. Otherwise, other heaves down in Mendota County Park. There's a heave down here from this point, kind of curves down towards Marshall and down that way, and is. I heard that again. Dave Lundy sent me this pic last week of the ice on top of the water, and I guess there's still water on top of the ice in some spots down there. I think it was Tuesday or something, somebody told me that. So do be careful around all the heaves, but especially the ones I'm talking about here. I heard there's a heave off Second Point. I don't know where it is or which way it goes, but be careful over there. Picket Point heave heads kind of northeast over here. Do be careful, especially around the point itself. That's where we've had a lot of news coverage lately. As far as fishing goes on Mendota, the walleye bite's been great. Like I said in the intro, shoreline breaks, mid-lake humps, Dunn's Bar, second point, Commodore Bar, Brearley bars are all good choices. But Picnic Point, anywhere, Maple Bluff, anywhere you can find like a nice drop near some shallow water, you can find some fish. But I've also been hearing about some fish coming up shallow too. City Shoreline's been good. Warner Bay, they've been finding some at night. And University Bay too, still at night. Speaking of University Bay, they're getting some pike down there and some walleyes, like I said, at night. Haven't heard much about the panfish. I know there's good weeds in there, but I just haven't heard about panfish. So it just remains a mystery. I'm not sure. The bluegills have got me banging my head against the wall this year. Otherwise, as far as perch go, still most of the action I'm hearing about is kind of on this west basin over here. I haven't really heard anything out here off the east basin, although I did see a small group of shacks way out here in the middle. So I don't know if they were on something, but if it were me, I'd start down here on the west basin, and they are finding fish. Very few reports of a couple nice schools, but most of the reports I hear about are scattered. 2, 5, maybe 8 fish come through at once, and you can get them to bite. Folks are getting their 10 fish limit down there, but not the giant schools out there that of years past that where some of us might be used to. Down on Monona, pretty much the same thing. You do want to be careful as far as heaves go. I hear there's a heave that goes across Old Brick here. I'm not sure exactly where. I haven't seen it myself, but I heard it is pretty gross. Um, Also, some heaves over here by the Monona Terrace. Otherwise, I don't know of any other heaves, but please keep me posted as far as that goes. Otherwise, sketchy ice, usually around where the Yahara dumps in here, and then, of course, the warm water discharge at MG&E, and then where the water comes out here at Weechawuk, formerly known as Squaw Bay. There's some shallow water and a lot of current there can sometimes bring in some sketchy ice. As far as fishing goes on Monona, it's been slow. I mean, for pretty much everything. There are some walleyes being caught on some of the mid-lake humps and shoreline breaks. But they tend to be bigger fish, but it's not as much of a numbers game as it is on Lake Mendota. Perch have been just horrible. I've talked to one person that caught one perch, and that's the best report I've heard, literally, on Lake Monona this year. Most of the other people I talk to say they can find fish, and if they do, they come in and they look and they just swim away. So that was kind of the problem last year too, if I remember right. But again, the shining star of the whole Madison chain, and really, honestly, the best bluegill fishing in the state's got to be still Monona Bay. A lot of weeds in there, a lot of fish. So if you want to catch some gills, that's the place to go. I hear they've been getting them good out from Brittingham Beach here. The West End's been a little bit slower down here by the shelter house. But, I mean, you can literally go and poke around there. Paul Zock was in here telling me, if you can just find thick weeds, you will find fish. So, and the triangles down here have been slow. I haven't heard much action off those at all recently. Lake Winger, lots of tiny gills, usually some pike and some bass in there to play if you want to put out some tip-ups. I have heard about a few decent perch coming off Winger mixed in with those tiny bluegills, but it's like you got to catch 20 bluegills to catch one perch. Turtle Bay down here, haven't heard much. I think I talked to one person that did okay there once. I haven't heard much out of Weechawuk Bay or anything off the pump house, which usually kind of turns on this time of year. I might find myself down there checking it out one of these days, but yeah, haven't heard anything so far. Earlier, they were getting some small pike and walleyes in there. I haven't heard anything off Upper Mud, and folks have been saying they haven't seen anybody out there. I haven't heard anybody out there. I know the path back there has been rough, so now that we have some snow, maybe that'll be changing. Maybe some folks will venture out there, but I just haven't heard anything. So let me know if you're getting any fish over there. But it's been quiet, not a lot of folks fishing. Down on Wabisa, as far as heaves go, I hear there's one out here off Hog Island that's headed northeast, and so I want to thank Ryan Shahoney for letting us know about that. He put his foot through trying to cross, so do be careful on that. Other areas to look out for is usually around this trestle. There's some current. Otherwise, I don't know of any other sketchy areas. Do be careful around Babcock Park. Of course, there's current over there. But again, let me know if you hear of anything. As far as fishing goes, the north end has been heating up a little bit. I've heard about some bluegills and weeds off Lake Farm. If you can find some weeds up there, you can find some gills, but that action's been spotty. Still pretty quiet for walleyes and pike, although I have heard about a little bit of action picking up there as far as compared to the Dead Sea that it's been before. Still hearing about some gills down here in the south end, but they are tend to be a little bit on the small side. Haven't heard much off the rock pile over here by Christie's and that. But the walleye action I do hear about has been spotty, but off Babcock and Bible Camp, kind of in this area over here near these breaks. Kind of the same thing on Kegonsa. I don't know about any heaves or sketchy ice down there. Feel free to correct me. But the main lake basin, they've been cruising around. Oh, yeah, Wabisa perch, too. Cruise around there. Safe ice pretty much across the lake. I've heard 18 inches down there in spots. So plenty of ice. Lake basin perch have been hard to find, but folks are getting them, and sounds like they're pretty good size. Spikes are working well, but it sounds like minnows, like crappie minnows and red rosy reds, have been better producers for larger fish. So take that for what it's worth. Same thing down on Kegonsa, though. Perch in the main basin, they've been hard to find. I've heard maybe a little bit more negative mood down here, but again, spikes work, but also crappie minnows and rosy reds. Bluegills down on the south end and some weeds if you can find them, and walleyes along the state park, but I don't hear a ton of reports off Kegonsa, to be honest. So they're all the way down there on the south end of the chain. So haven't heard anything off the Rock River itself. It's been cold. And Koshkonong sounds like they got plenty of ice down there. Folks are driving all over the place. Do be careful, though, with snow out here now. there's still some areas, especially on the south end, where they have pressure cracks and springs and stuff you're going to want to be careful of. But most of the action I hear about anyway sounds like it's coming on the north end of the lake. I did hear Bait Box on the Rock, which is a great little bait shop over here in Fort Atkinson, held their Battle for the Bounty or something it's called on Lake Koshkonong, and that's one of these like fish fish donkey apps where it's all catch and release, but you record your fish there. But they were pulling out a lot of nice fish down there, mostly walleyes and crappies. So if you want to take a drive, get out of town a little bit, maybe check that out. Otherwise, Beaver Dam Lake sounds like they're still getting some walleyes up there. Still getting some trout on Devil's Lake. I don't know why I can't find Devil's Lake. Oh yeah, it's up here. Devil's Lake right now. Still getting some trout out there, and plenty of ice. I don't know. Nothing going on the river. It's been too cold. A lot of ice out there, I'm sure. But sloughs up and down the river, from Muscadet all the way up. It can be some good fishing, and you can get a little solitude there. You're not going to catch the jumbo gills you might catch here in Madison on Mendota, but some good action, and it's nice and quiet. On Lake Wisconsin, I haven't heard much besides panfish in the small bays. So, the fingers, oki, some perch out oki, I heard. Otherwise, the grade up here, Moon Valley, a lot of small panfish, although I did hear about some nice crappies. I haven't heard anything in the way of walleyes over there. I have heard about some walleyes and nothing on the river. Otherwise, it's been cold. I have heard about some crappie bite on Castle Rock Lake and a decent crappie and walleye bite on Petenwell. So if you want to take a trip up there, maybe it'd be worth be a nice change of pace. Mississippi River, they're getting perch up and down the river. Backwaters, places like DeSoto, Stoddard, Lake Onalaska have all been good. So, if you want to take a trip, get over there. They're getting some of those nice Mississippi jumbos, and that action should really only improve as we get into late ice here. Milwaukee, so they're getting some fish in the harbors out here, browns and steelheads. Sounds like some decent action out there for those. Otherwise, the steelhead are in the rivers, but the rivers generally too icy to fish, and it's not really going to warm up. It doesn't look like for this week, so probably not much opportunities to get steelhead unless you find some, current areas that stay open. And if you do fish over there, flashy streamers can run through some of those runs, or drifting like a larger egg sucking stonefly or leech or something like that with a maybe egg pattern behind it can be productive. But like I said, it's going to be pretty cold for those fish. Speaking of cold, the inland trout season is still open, and the action, before it got cold here, I was hearing about some good action, maybe even some folks getting some fish on dry flies. But with this cold snap, it's going to be tough this week. But of course, in the early catch and release season, you can't keep any fish, and only artificial lures may be used. But this time of year, slow and low is the name of the game. So look for slow, deeper runs and pools, and work your lures through them slowly, and you'll likely find some fish. Although no need to wake up at the crack of dawn. This time of year, I call it like ultra bankers hours, usually between 10 and 2. But really, even on like a 30-degree day, more accurately, the bite window is 11 to 1. And, so on the spinning gear side of things, suspending or sinking jerk baits like Rapala Husky jerks or countdowns are great. Crappie sized tube jigs are awesome. You can work those slowly through deeper runs and pools, and it can be very effective. On the fly side of things, all you really need to catch trout is a pink squirrel. And I guess we'll kind of segue into our happy fly day feature. And I'm just going to keep talking about the flies that work. I could feature new flies every week, but the pink squirrel is really all you need as far as a winter fly goes. They're easy to fish, and they catch fish. Otherwise, if you want to challenge yourself, woolly buggers, great. Run through slow runs. Maybe run one of these little minch nymphs behind them, but small, and is kind of the name of the game as far as that goes. If we do get some warmer weather, which we're not really in the forecast, you might see some bugs coming off. So it's either going to be midges. If you can't see them, what they're eating, they're on midges. If you can see what they're eating, it's likely a dark gray, kind of a moth-looking bug you'll see fluttering around the water. Those are stoneflies. So a black. I've had really good luck on like a black elk hair caddis, or just a dark-bodied elk hair caddis if you want something that's easier to see. These in like size 16s and 18s because they're pretty small this time of year. So those are good options if you come across some rising fish. But like I said, it's going to be too cold really for trout next week. So maybe enjoy the ice game fish season before it closes in 16 days. I guess that pretty much does it for the report. Thanks for hanging in there. I do want you to post your comments and catches below. Feel free to call the shop if you want us to expand on anything 241-4225. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week. Thanks so much.